Okay, the video today is on the idea of reparations. It's popped up again in the news again today, mostly because there is a massive amount of Democrats who are running for um, the presidency, Democratic candidates. And basically, there's so many. I mean, there are over 20 of them. And there's basically something for everyone as long as you're not interested in anyone who's interesting and anyone who has convictions and anybody who's competent, then there's plenty of people for you to choose from. But other than that, all of them seem to have one thing in common. They're talking about the idea of reparations for Black Americans because they are the descendants of slaves. Now, this issue's popped up, like I said, quite a few times in the past. And now I think it's mostly because of the efforts of people like Candace Owens and Larry Elder. There's been a movement, what they call the Blexit movement, where the the black vote has pretty much been 95% Democratic for at least the last 50 years or more. So the idea is that there has been chipping away at that, and there's some indications that people are worried about the idea that if it drops down 5 or 6% because of things like the idea of why do blacks vote for Democrats? What do they really ever do for them other than give them misery? And because of that, there's some concerns about it. So since we're dealing with politicians, their answer is, well, we need to get votes, so we'll give people stuff. So the idea is we need to give money to Black Americans so that they'll want to understand that we're wonderful and understanding people, and therefore we want them to vote for us. Okay. And I started thinking about this, about the idea of reparations, and I had a brilliant idea. The idea was that it's not difficult to figure out who benefited the most from slaves. And that'd be the people that would be most likely to want to have to pay reparations. The slavery in the United States, occurred even before the United States became a nation, but it was making the most amount of its money in the early part of the 1800s, about 1820s, 1830s on was when the cotton industry cotton was king, as they said, and it was making almost all the money that the southern states, which were slave states, of course, were making, and it was a considerable amount of money. So logically, those are the ones that benefited from slavery. Okay, so let's start at 1829. In 1829, Andrew Jackson was elected president of the United States. He was the seventh president of the United States. He was also the first Democratic president ever elected. So what occurred to me is that if you want to locate a group of individuals who directly benefited from slavery, then logically be the Democratic Party. Because every president from Andrew Jackson on to the Civil War were slave owners. Martin Van Buren, James K. Polk, Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan, Andrew Johnson. All of them were slave owners. All of them were Democratic presidents. So the Democratic Party definitely benefited, but because of the fact that the slave states were all Democratic controlled states, and all the candidates elected president were all Democratic presidents. And I mean, the Confederacy itself, when you look at the Confederacy was South Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee, North Carolina. All of them, all the states were slave states. All of them were controlled by the Democrats. So they're the ones who directly got all the advantages of slavery. When Lincoln was elected in 1860, he took office in 1861, it was a catalyst for the Civil War, which of course was started by the South, Fort Sumter firing on the Union forces, April 12, 1861. So it strikes me this is a very simple way to handle this. The Democratic Party are the group of people who most benefited from slavery. So logically, they would be the group that should pay the money for reparations to Black Americans. I mean, it's fairly simple. They benefited from slavery entirely. They're the party that created the Ku Klux Klan in the South, again, Democrat-controlled states. The Plessy versus Ferguson issue of the idea of separate but equal, the idea of segregation, again, comes from the Democratic Party, all the way through the Dixiecrats into the late 60s and early 70s. This is an issue has been for the Democrats entirely. And they're the party that is saying that they want to do something about it and give reparations. Well, then by all means, poll your people and get money from them, however you need to do it, and raise up, I don't know, probably to have a reasonable compensation for the Black Americans who can prove the directly descendants of slavery. It would probably need about between 100 and 200 billion dollars to have a reasonable compensation for them, say 50 to 100,000 dollars per, because it might not be that easy to prove. I'm of the opinion if the Democrats will raise up, say, 80% of that, you can talk to all the rest of us who didn't benefit from it. I mean, my people actually fought on the side of the Union, and they died during the Civil War. So I would like an exemption for that because we paid the price in blood for actually freeing the slaves. But using that as an argument, I'm still willing as an individual to chip in money. If the Democrats are willing to put forth, say, 80% of it, I think you can talk the rest of it about the 20%. I'm sure that we could probably come up with a way of raising it if you're willing to put up the 80 or 90%, whatever would be fair. So anyway, this strikes me as a very simple solution to this problem. And I just have to wait for the Democrats to step forward and do it. Because if they don't, then they're just talking again and they're just trying to buy votes, then aren't they? And they don't plan on doing anything at all. They benefited from slavery, then fine, then make reparations. Knock yourself out. Prove what wonderful and caring human beings you are. So anyway, that's my simple solution to the problem, and I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, if you liked this video, please mark it as like and subscribe. I'll have a message on the end about this also because I always have my little dancing animal going across the screen to remind you to subscribe. So anyway, until next time, thank you very much.
If you wish to join the quest for knowledge, the battle for truth, please hit the like button, recommend my channel to others, and of course, subscribe. Thank you kindly.